Shankar sir, we can start now.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my very great pleasure and a privilege to welcome all the students and faculty of the lovers of English. And I'm very much honored to welcome you all to the ELTAI Webinar 37 on Language Skills for Successful Placement. Before that, let's have a look at that a video about ELTAI. Sir, please play the video. Well, in today's context, getting a placement is very important in students' career, especially in campus itself. And it's all about that honing your skills. According to Peter Drucker, the guru of organizational communication, to be a successful employee, you need to hone both spoken and written skills very effectively. Because people are very reflective, and very much retaliating when they are going to communicate, even in writing and in spoken words. It is very imperative for us to train the learners of today to make them industry ready. And in today's context, the successful topic is all about how to use language skills for successful placement. And I deem it a privilege and a pleasure in welcoming all the three speakers, Dr. T. Sasisekaran, Shrinidhi, and Sharmila, for having accepted our invitation to be a part of this wonderful program. And let me introduce Dr. T. Sasisekaran, who was formerly a professor of English, VIT University, Vellore, formerly professor and head, Department of English, School of Social Science and Humanities, Kongu Engineering College. Dr. Sasisekaran has been teaching English language and literature at a collegiate and university levels for the past 45 years. He is a teacher trainer, research guide, materials producer, materials writer, textbook writer, linguist, and an ELT expert. He has been visiting teacher training faculty or resource person for college teachers in 2 universities in Tamil Nadu. He is an accredited examiner for Cambridge examinations. The last 8 years of teaching, he took up language-related placement training. As a placement training resource person, he has been trained by IT professionals like Infosys and CTS. He has worked in honorary position for the National Institute of Open Schooling as officer on special duty. He has authored a few textbooks and which are all published by Macmillan, which have been widely prescribed at least by 2 universities and a good number of autonomous colleges, including St. Joseph College, Trichy, and Presidency College, Chennai. Post-retirement, he has been currently involved in areas like soft skills development and placement-oriented training, and textbook writing and materials production. A warm welcome you to sir. And it's my pleasure to introduce the student speakers. Shrinidhi and Sharmila, both are M.Tech students who are working for organizations. They are so much into this process of getting themselves trained and how to cope with themselves into the placement activities. I definitely believe that the participants are really going to be benefited by the experts. Sir, now the floor is yours.
Sir, you need to turn on your mic, sir.
Good evening to all of you. In the next 50 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about language skills and placement and the placement process. I use the generic term language skills instead of saying English language skills because from my experience, I've seen in certain domains, even mother tongue fluency and mother tongue language skills are becoming important these days, particularly if you're talking about sales and related domains. Anyway, I'll be talking mostly about English language proficiency and English language skills that are necessary for a successful placement, particularly the undergraduate students. And today's presentation is not going to be like a one-way presentation. It's not in the lecture mode. Two of our student colleagues are joining me. They already joined us, and they'll be asking questions from their perspective, and I'll be answering them. So I thought that would be a better way of telling people what are the things that students require, getting the questions from the students and answering them. So that's how it's going to be. Anyway, this is a vast area. Let me tell you that it's very difficult to talk about the entire gamut of issues involved in this in about 50 seconds. But I'm going to give you only a bird's eye view. I will also tell you what are the resources that you need to check on so that you can do the follow-up. Most of you may be knowing quite a number of things, but the things that I'm going to talk about today, I'll also tell what are the follow-up things that you're going to do. I think we can straight away go into the question answer session if you may like, and I would like one of the students to start with the questions which I may take up for answering.
Please turn on your mic.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone. So the way you have taken this lecture to be interactive is really one of the wonderful one. So one questions that we usually come up as students is that when students get into an interview process, one thing that comes into mind is that how will they be assessed in the interview process? So what type of skills does a student should possess before entering into a placement process, sir?
Yes, Shrinidhi, I think that's a very important question. Students should know what are the skills that or skill sets that companies are looking for so that they'll be better prepared when the real placement happens. Now, there are certain misconceptions about knowledge and skills and things like that as far as young students are concerned. We tend to look at them as fixed things, kind of a monolithic thinking we have. Let's remember that be it knowledge or skills, it follows an evolutionary curve. Skills we don't learn overnight. We learn little by little. Over a period of time, we become better and we move on to the next stage. So if you're talking about skills, at least there could be 9 to 10 sets of skills that companies look for. So what a fresher or a young student who is at the threshold of placement should be bothered about is that he should be bothered only about the entry level knowledge and skill sets. That's what the companies are looking for. Companies are looking for technically equipped workforce, English knowing workforce, to be precise. That's what companies are looking for. And if you are desperate for jobs, the companies are also in a way desperate to recruit students. In certain years, we can see a huge number of recruitments taking place, which means that the companies want so many people. So it's the entry level skills they are looking at. So when it comes to skills, I think it's better to have a look at what I like. I consider to be a very standard template as far as skills are concerned. May I request Professor Xavier to show us the first slide. Yes, this particular template is a very useful framework of reference, both for teachers as well as students. Some of you may be already familiar with it, but I would like those who are not familiar to check it on www.pt21.org. Now, if you look at this slide, you will see that it talks about quite a number of skills. I find it very useful. I find it well defined. It tells us what are the skills that they are needed. And you must remember that this skills framework has been accepted by some of the top companies in the world, including IBM and companies like that. So that is why I want young learners, young students to have a look at this particular framework. It talks about core subjects, core skills, core subject skills. It talks about the 4 C's. You can go to the website and refer to it later on. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. The main aspects of this particular framework relate to core subject skills and 4 C's, they call it: critical thinking, and problem solving, creativity and innovation, and communication and collaboration. This communication and collaboration, particularly, it relates very much to the language and communication skills aspect. Then, of course, there are other things. There's an interesting thing like ICT skills, information and computer communication technology skills, which of course young people don't have any problem with that. Most of them are quite adequately well versed with computers and technology related things. It also, this framework interestingly talks about a particular thing called technology intelligence, like emotional intelligence and other things. It also talks about digital intelligence. This digital intelligence is a very important thing. Youngsters should know how to use technology, how to leverage it for their success, for the future career, how not to use technology. That is also very important. So these are some of the interesting things that you will find in this particular framework. Please do refer to it. It tells you a lot of things. Of course, there are other things like life skills and individual skills like time management and team play, which are assessed through instruments or tools like group discussion. When they conduct a group discussion, quite a number of things are assessed. Maybe I'll talk about it later on a little. So short and sweet, what are the skills or skill sets that companies expect from young graduating students? They look for entry-level knowledge and skill sets. So youngsters should be thorough with what they have studied. So that will be assessed. And on the application side, they should be very clear about what are the skills that they can bring into the real work that they are going to be offering. Yes, Shrinidhi, I think that...
you have up to the point, and it just gave a clear-cut picture, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, sir, and hi, everyone. Now I came to know the list of skills that companies assess when they select students for placements. So the next most important follow-up doubt that I had is, so how are these skills are getting assessed?
Yes, that again is very much in the picture. How do they assess these skills? Companies and the HR people who come to visit, colleges for placement, they come with very clear-cut guidelines, criteria, markers, and so many things. It's not that they come and make selections on a subjective basis. It's not possible, because all these companies who come to educational institutions for placement, they have very, very well-defined recruitment policies and frameworks. So we can be very sure, but at the same time, we must remember that they're always very considerate. There is a wrong thinking in the minds of young students, that these people are very tough. They always try to eliminate and things like that. From my experience, I've seen it's not like that. The HR people, they are highly trained people. They are highly professional, and their aim is to recruit as many people as possible according to the numbers that they're going to recruit. Now, regarding the question that Sharmila asked, how do they assess these skills? Now, like I said, the core areas and skills are very important. That is, it relates to your main area of study, be it engineering or management or finance or sales or whatever it is. They try to assess your core area skills, both on the knowledge side or theory side, as well as on the application side, that's skills. So knowledge and skills, knowledge on the theory side and the skills on the application side. So these core area skills are basically assessed through your CGPA. That is the basic criteria. If your CGPA is to the accepted level, should all have a 9-band score? Not necessary. Something that is acceptable. What is acceptable depends on what the companies think. So core area knowledge skills are assessed through your CGPA, as well as the technical round of tests that they may give at the very beginning of the placement skills. So this technical round of tests are very much related to what you have studied, and if you're thorough with what you have studied, and if you know what's happening upfront in the on the developmental side of your core area, you should definitely be able to handle these tests. That is one thing. That's it, as far as core area knowledge levels and skill levels are concerned. Now, how do they test these critical thinking and these so-called 4 C's? Critical thinking and problem solving, creativity and innovation. These are primarily assessed through quantitative aptitude tests, numerical ability, and logical reasoning. These tests, most of the youngsters do it well. I've seen from my experience, young graduate students do these things well, provided they prepare well. These are things that you don't just go offhand and handle. It's not possible. These tests you need to prepare well, like quantitative aptitude, numerical ability, logical reasoning. One may be very good in mathematics, but it doesn't mean that the person will get an automatic passport in these tests. These are designed to test your analytical and your creative skills. So that is how these are concerned. Of course, information and communication technology skills are constantly assessed. I don't see any problem for youngsters in that area, because most of the youngsters are quite competent in these areas, and that is always constantly assessed. How you respond to things on the internet, how you use the computer to do the tests, particularly in this age of online testing. This becomes very important. Then life skills, like there are other things, as if, for example, time management. How do I assess the capacity of a particular learner's time management skills? I can't assess it that easily. That's why these are called soft skills. What cannot be quantified easily, they are called soft skills. So companies do have certain strategies. They have certain tools through which they make an assessment of individual skills like time management, initiative, leadership. We're not talking about political leadership. We are talking about leadership in simple day-to-day situations, work-related situations. I'm not talking about social situations. I'm talking about work-related situations. If you can handle your things properly, if you can provide a lead, if you can problem solve, if you can handle things efficiently, that means you have leadership qualities in you. I will elaborate on that a little more as we continue talking. And as far as language skills are concerned, that's our prime area. There are 2 ways companies test this. All of you know that. It's on one side you have the written skills. The written skills are tested through verbal aptitude tests, verbal reasoning. There's all written multiple choice questions or objective tests. These are primarily objective tests. And on the other side, the spoken fluency, which is very, very important. Spoken fluency is tested through some certain other selection tools, like recruitment tools, like group discussion, interviews, face-to-face interviews, and presentations at times. At times, some companies ask students to give mini presentations for about 2 minutes, which enables them to understand whether this particular student will make the grade or not. And remember, these assessment patterns are not uniform. It's not that companies have certain set procedures and set templates which they keep using year after year. It's not like that. The most important thing is that most of the companies change these selection patterns, the templates, every year, because this work is outsourced. And every year you can expect changes, but there are certain commonalities, certain common features which you can always identify. That's what I'm going to talk about in the next half an hour or so. So this is how they assess, and there is always the possibility of the HR people giving a long rope to the students. I would like to underscore that point, that they're not here to penalize or punish students. They try to be considerate. They try to accommodate as many candidates as possible according to the requirements. At the same time, it doesn't mean that the students can be complacent. Complacency is what creates lots of problems most of the time. Okay, Sharmila?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the elaborated answer.
Right.
Yes, sir. So as you have said, to assess our communication skills, many of tests like verbal aptitudes are being held out. So as a fresher, what kind of questions can we expect in the verbal aptitude tests?
Yes, I'll talk about that. Now, every year, like I said, that things keep changing. Companies don't tell colleges that these are the questions that we are going to definitely ask you. They'll just give certain broad guidelines. They'll give certain tips, but there are certain common features, certain common aspects which are always there. Give some, take some. But these are the questions that get repeated every year. The questions will be different, but the items are the same. Say, for example, I think I'll show you another slide, which will give you a very clear idea about it. Can I have the next slide, please? Yes, you have it there. So these look very simple. Synonyms, antonyms, or homonyms, and glossing or word meaning, giving word meaning, reverse glossing or one-word substitute, as they call it, syllogisms and analogies, a closed test, fill in the blanks, error analysis, error spotting, idioms and phrases, spelling. These are the 10 items which get repeated again and again in different permutations and combinations every year by different companies. In certain years, you won't get synonyms, antonyms, but you may have other items. In certain question papers, you may not have error analysis, but you will have something else. So these are the questions. Of course, there are 3 categories I'd like to point out to here as far as verbal aptitude tests are concerned. All these 10 items come under the heading, or can be classified under the heading, vocabulary tests. If you look at it, 1, 2, 3 synonyms, antonyms, homonyms, or etc., till spelling, deal primarily with words, vocabulary. So this is aimed at testing your range of vocabulary, the appropriacy with which you use the words, the extent to which you can use words to convey what is necessary in business communication environments. So there are samples for this. I don't have the time to show you samples for synonyms and antonyms. One warning is, let not youngsters think that, oh, this is very simple. Synonyms, antonyms, I've been studying from 10th standard, 6th standard, right? Not a big deal. Closed test, I've been doing fill-ins ever since I can remember, ever since I started studying English. That's not the case. These tests are exclusively designed to test you. There are 3 difficulty levels as far as these questions are concerned: the basic difficulty level, the middle difficulty level, the higher difficulty level. So if you take the case of, say, for example, synonyms, you will have 3 questions. One question will be basic difficulty level or beginning level. The second question will be middle difficulty level, little more difficult. The third question will be higher difficulty level. That's how they put together these pieces. So most of the students think very often, they have this mistaken notion that these things are very easy. They're not easy. They're not easy. They could be easy if you're really exceptionally good in English. But even then, you need to do a little bit of preparation. And these 10 items, including, of course, idioms and phrases. Why do they ask idioms and phrases? This is a question that I often ask students. Does it sound very boring? Why an aspiring IT engineer should know about idioms and phrases? This I am done with. I did it in school. But that's not the point. The point is that when you interact with clients from abroad, you will find that the native speakers naturally use certain idioms and phrases in their discourse, in the spoken discourse. For example, a Britisher says, I want to drive home the point. And you should be able to understand what is drive home the point. We shouldn't mistake that he's talking about driving home. So that is why they give things like idioms and phrases, just 1 or 2 questions. Not that they're going to give you 10 questions from synonyms and antonyms, but 2 questions from synonyms, 2 questions from antonyms, 2 closed tests. Closed tests could be either content words or grammar words. Grammar words means they may ask you to fill in the blanks with the articles and prepositions, or at times they may give you content words, meaning words to fill you. So these 10 items, from my experience, I have seen they keep on repeating themselves, recurring items, so to say. Spelling, how do they test you in spelling? The same word, different 4 different spellings are given. You know all that, isn't it? Only one spelling, one word is spelled correctly. All the 3 other variants will be wrong. So the student has to tick the correct answer. This is how it goes. Error analysis is another important point. They keep asking very simple sentences. Don't think that they ask give sentences from Wren and Morton. It's not like that. These sentences, most of these sentences are fixed in context. A short paragraph may be given where you'll be able to understand what's the meaning of it, and they will insert a few errors, 1 or 2 errors, and ask you to spot these errors. And normal course, most of the students spot it, but what it needs in these things of a thing, definitely some kind of preparation, some kind of practice is absolutely necessary. So the second category is grammar related. Do they ask grammar questions? Yes, they do ask. The 2 items they keep asking is one is reported speech, because when we speak to the team members and team leaders in a business environment, we use a lot of reported speech constructs, and we also use active passive. Active passive questions are given. Active passive is not that usual Rama killed the tiger and the tiger was killed by Rama, not that kind of a question. They will ask you some sentence that has a meeting has been arranged. So you need to know which is active, which is passive. Most of these sentences, most of these examples they take are from business English. That's what we must remember. From day-to-day business English, these examples, these sentences, these words are taken. Vocabulary, it doesn't cross the boundaries of a normal understanding. It is not like a spell bee. It's not like spell bee. They are not going to ask you very weird words and all that. Words which you know, normally which you are supposed to know. So there is the second category. One is the vocabulary category. The second one is the grammar related category. 1 or 2 they will ask. Not that grammar should definitely be there. Like I said, these items keep changing every year. Then you have reading comprehension. From what I have seen, quite a number of companies give reading comprehension. Again, our attitude to reading comprehension is well known, isn't it? All of us think that, okay, this I have been doing right from my 6th standard. Nothing great about it, but don't mistake it. These reading comprehension questions are specifically designed to test you. These are not lengthy passages, very short passages running to about 30 words or 40 words. That's it. So there are 3 categories of questions: vocabulary questions, grammar related questions, and reading comprehension, right? Possibly I'll show you one more slide, the reading comprehension question. I don't know how much time we have. Yes, the next, I will have the next slide. Yeah, this kind of ordinary regular direct comprehension questions, you will see that the passage is very short. It's about only 4 lines, and you have about 5 questions based on. These are the type of comprehension questions they ask usually. And this, of course, most of you will be able to answer very easily. Look at this, the length of the passage. This is how they ask. Not the lengthy kind of comprehension, reading comprehension that you come across in schools and college exams or in some other contexts. But there is another one particular reading comprehension. This is called inferential comprehension. You can check it on the web. Here there are no direct answers. Look at this passage with the highlighted blue words and phrases. That's the passage. Under that you have 5 sentences given, statements. You have to read this passage, you have to read the statement and say, you have to rate it in these 5 categories. Definitely true, probably true, data inadequate, probably false, and definitely false. This is called inferential comprehension. This is not kid stuff, I am telling you. Every year they keep changing. Some of these passages could be really challenging, and you need to practice. Practice is very important. So I think that just about sums up the answers to Srinidhi's question. Let's move on. If you have any more questions, you can ask me.
Sir, as you mentioned in my previous question that language fluency is one of the important factors that companies assess. So language fluent, which tests candidate readiness, then confidence in using words, and also the presence of mind. So what are the tests that primarily used for testing language fluency?
Language fluency tests only two things that I can think of. Many presentation they use at times, but mostly they don't have the time. So they do group discussion. GD is one of the most important vital factors in the selection process, group discussion. Then secondly, face-to-face interviews. Now let me, yes, these are the three.
So among the list which you have told, so I would like to go with the group discussion. That is, whenever companies are having lesser amount of time, but there are a huge number of candidates to get assessed, then obviously I guess they'll move for group discussion strategy. So tell us something about the importance of group discussion, sir.
Yes, group discussion is a wonderful selection tool. In the sense, it is a multi-skill assessment tool. By looking at the performance of a young person in a group discussion, the HR person from a company can assess so many things, so many different things. What are the skills that you can assess? You can assess the communication skills, that's primary. You can assess his ability to contribute with ideas, idea generation capacity, because that is very, very, very important. Then they will find out how you manage your time. If it's 20 minutes or given 6 people are asked to do a group discussion, you must know how to manage your time. You must speak, you must allow the other person to speak. If you're going to hog the time and if you're going to dominate others, you're out. If you speak correctly and you allow others to speak, then you're doing it correctly. Time management skills are given, assessed. Team play. What better strategy than a GD to assess your team play? Team play, a GD is not a debate. It is not a place for argument. It is a teamwork. Actually, the work is given to a team. You're supposed to discuss and arrive at some kind of, acceptable kind of conclusion. You're not going to hurt somebody. You're not going to score brownie points over somebody. You're not going to hurt somebody, insult somebody. All these are negative things which will eliminate you. So group discussion companies consider as very important because of all these factors. So many things can be assessed. More importantly, you need to one needs to speak at least 3 times in a group discussion. That's what I think is important. Quite a number of people, they speak once and they wait for others to speak. Others will be going on speaking, and this person will simply quietly wait without knowing what to do. So basically, a person must speak for 3 minutes. Thrice. Thrice he must speak in a group discussion. Twice also could be, but thrice I would personally recommend a student speaking thrice. And don't overshoot the time limit. Each time you speak, you should be conscious of the time. Try to compress your ideas in a time frame of 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. That's all. 3 minutes to 3.5 minutes, you should be able to say what you want to say. These are the things that one needs to keep in mind when going to GD. Remember, GD as well as interview skills, they can be cultivated only through practice. Unless one goes through the grind of mock group discussions, at least 10 to 15 mock discussions, one cannot manage a real-time group discussion. One will falter. So you must talk correctly, you must talk to time, you must allow others to talk, you must have respect for others, and you must make use of the time given to you, and you must complete everything according to what they expect. So in that sense, a group discussion is an important thing, and I advise the youngsters not to wait for your placement coordinators or for your departments to conduct the mock discussions all the time. They will do that. Of course, I know quite a number of colleges do that. But where it's not available or where it's inadequate, join with your own friends, select topics from the net group discussion topics, and sit and have mock group discussions among yourselves. That is the best thing. The same goes for interview also. Yes, Sharmila, I think that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the clear-cut answer.
Yes, any other question you have? Srinidhi, your mic.
Sorry. Yes, sir. So, sir, getting nervous is pretty obvious for freshers when they, come across a selection process. So, what would be your advice when they are facing face-to-face interviews with the HRs?
They should get nervous. If they don't get nervous, it will be something very unnatural. But must learn how to overcome that nervousness and try to act in a normal professional way. And that comes only with practice. There are in face-to-face interviews, I wish that we had a lot of time to discuss this in greater detail, but since the time at our disposal is limited, I would say that the most important thing is one should be presentable. One should dress properly, not on garish, very colorful style. One should dress very professionally when one goes for face-to-face interviews or for group discussion. That's very, very important, both men and women. Be courteous always. Be courteous and be respectful to the person to whom you speak. That's very, very important. Be yourself. Even if your language is not really very powerful, even if one's language is a little faulty, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Speak confidently. That's what is important. Because HR people visit so many colleges, and quite a number of colleges, most of the colleges for that matter, the students most of their levels of their spoken fluency levels are okay to the acceptable level. So of course 10 to 20% of the students speak extremely well. So one should be confident and talk confidently and act professionally. Never bluff. In an interview, never bluff, because that's the real trap into which you would get into. Prepare and rehearse. As far as interviews are concerned, there are certain standard questions. There are some new questions. Be prepared for the standard questions, and new questions, you take them as they come. Say, for example, every interview starts with the question, introduce yourself. But I found that most of them falter. They don't prepare. They think it's very easy to introduce oneself. It's not. Maybe in a social context, you can introduce yourself in a very easy way, in a very leisurely way. But in a formal situation, you should know how to introduce yourself, what to say about yourself, what not to say. Quite a number of them, they keep talking about their families. My father, my mother, my brother, my sister. By the time the HR person may lose interest. So students should talk about themselves very briefly and focus more on their academic profile, as well as their work aspirations, what they can do on the technical skills, and everything. The self-introduction, as it is called, it should be done in about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes, not more than that. Nobody has patience to listen to a person's self-introduction for more than 1 minute. 1 minute would be ideal, maybe 1.5 minutes. And of course, always the HR person says, okay. Okay means stop. That's the cue. So we must rehearse that, plan. And of course, there are quite a number of questions, standard interview questions. Let students look at the web and look at the standard interview questions that are asked, and be prepared. Plan it, how best to answer these questions. And if the best thing is, if one doesn't know something, it's better not to say I don't know. It's better to say it very politely, very in a subtle, in a euphemistic way. I'm afraid I'm not very sure about that. I'll try to find out, something like that. It's all a choice of words which makes the difference. You're going to give, I don't know, sir. I'm sorry, sir. I don't know, sir. That's a very blunt kind of self-defeating kind of answer. It's better to say, I'm afraid I'm not very sure about that one. I'll check it out, sir. That would be, that kind of an answer itself would be a good answer, right? Of course, there are quite a number of things that we can talk about interview skills, but I think I'll stop there. Anything else?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for patiently answering a question, sir.
Yes, Shrinidhi.
As of now, we came to know like what are the skills that companies assess and how are these skills getting assessed, and also the types of question asked in verbal aptitude, and also the importance of language fluency, group discussion, and face-to-face interviews. So on the whole, like what is your advice to those who are getting ready for placement, sir?
Yeah, that's very important. The preparation is very important. I think I would advise students to prepare from the third year itself. In fact, it's better that it starts from the first year itself. So at least from the third year, one must do what I consider to be important: job research. One must analyze one's own profile, skill sets, one's own capabilities, and then find out what are the kinds of jobs that could be secured with the kind of skill sets that one possesses. Must do the research about companies that offer these things. So job research is a very important thing. Job research is trying to find out what are the jobs available to me, in what way I can hone up my skills or develop my skills and be there ready when these people ask. So job research is one important thing. Let it not be considered that one can just walk into the placement round and come out successfully. That could happen more because of luck rather than anyone else. One needs to prepare for placement like one prepares for any other examination. So job research is very important. Preparation over a period of time, knowing what are the things that are going to come. Say, for example, GD means you can do some practice group discussions. Making full use of the available resources. Colleges do offer a lot of resources, and making use of these resources to the best of your ability is very, very important, not missing out on things. Second, more important is one must remember that it is the individual who will get himself or herself a job. Institutions and organizations or bodies like placement cells can only offer the best of help possible. But it is the individual's responsibility to know what he should do or she should do to get the job. So that is one important thing. Invest in some books and reading material. People are under the mistaken notion that everything can be gotten from the web. Most people believe that the cell phone will provide the answers to everything. It's not possible. For verbal aptitude and other related things, there are books available. I don't want to mention any particular book, but if you check the platforms like online platforms for books, verbal aptitude, verbal reasoning, objective English test, these kind of things, if you use as search words and search phrases, you will come across quite a number of books. I advise youngsters to invest and spend on 500, 600 rupees and buy a book. It makes your job easy because all these items are in one place. You don't have to be searching for it on the internet, finding it in bits and pieces. These books offer you wonderful collection in one place. Go through these books, keep reading little by little by little. Over a period of time, you can completely master these. Make use of the resources available. For a vocabulary, there is a particular item called SAT vocabulary. This is the list of words that are used in SAT examinations in the USA. Youngsters can search the web, you will find that SAT vocabulary. It gives you a list of 1,000 words. These 1,000 words keep doing the rounds in most of these placement tests. So keep in touch with your placement cell people who are in charge. More importantly, keep in touch with your seniors. Students who have got placed and who have gone out, it's your responsibility to keep in touch with them. You have so many networking facilities available with them. Keep in touch with them. They will be able to tell you something important, give you some important information. Short and sweet. Spend time. Prepare for placement over a period of time. It's not in 15 days or 1 month that you can do. Over a period of time, I standardly advise my students to prepare at least for 2 years. And then only you can be very confident of handling this. Of course, remember that companies are as eager to hire people as we are anxious to get jobs. So if one doesn't get a job, it's one's fault. It's not the fault of the HR people, not that they are going to reject people. They're not here to reject people. They are here to select people. So preparation is the most important, fundamental thing as far as placement is concerned. You have any more questions? Yes. If I think that should have given an adequate overview about what are the things that are important in a placement-related scenario. I think I will bring it to a closure with that. If there are any questions from the participants, I would be happy to answer these questions. Over to the organizers.
Thank you so much, sir. Good evening, everyone. Now is the time for the question answer. We have a few questions received or put forth by our participants. We would have paucity of time. I don't think so we will be able to take up all the questions, but still I would take up certain pertinent ones, very pertinent ones. I'll try to club them together. We have a question from Asha Ibnathan Nam, that who sets the aptitude paper for the companies, sir? And along with that, S. Lalita ma'am has asked, how are the aptitude questions set for the competitive exams? Because there is no assurance that the same questions would be put forth.
Right, that's right. I mean, these are things that that are all the time kept under the wraps. Nobody really knows. When Cognizant visits my college or the college where I was working, we don't know who sets the question paper. It's not a question paper as such. It's not the conventional question paper that we are used to in colleges and universities. But as far as I know, these are outsourced. Already I gave a hint. These are outsourced to expert individuals and expert organizations who follow the latest developments in setting these questions, and they don't go by the same template or same pattern. They are given specific instructions to bring in something new, to make it a little different, because they don't want it to become repetitive. So questions obviously are, but all said and done, this is nothing that students cannot master. If students are well prepared, the bottom line is they don't ask questions that are outside the purview of the students' capabilities. They never do that. Mostly, maybe one or two questions that I described, which belong to the higher difficulty level. Like I said, I would like to reiterate that again. There are three categories of questions. One is the lower difficulty level, the middle difficulty level, the higher difficulty. The higher difficulty level questions are far and few in between. That is to make it more challenging. But generally, a well-prepared student should be able to handle these questions very easily.
Okay.
Who prepares is $1 million question indeed.
Yes. Thank you, sir. The next question is, it's by Praveen Sam D, sir. What is your opinion about the curriculum of English with respect to this? Like, I think he means to ask with respect to the placement. Like, what is your opinion about the curriculum?
Curriculum, yes, it's a very, very, very important question. Very important question. I wouldn't like to comment on what already exists. I would instead like to say that universities as well as colleges should update their curriculum and ensure that quite a number of all these things that I showed you relate very much to English language teaching. Okay, be it vocabulary or grammar or reading or speaking. A group discussion is a wonderful speaking activity. And a mock interview is a wonderful speaking activity. You can't teach speaking or teach about speaking. You have to make them speak. So a curricular framework or framers of the curriculum and syllabus, they should consider all these things into consideration, and it's better they include some of these items into the regular framework so that students will benefit from them. The teachers also will be able to guide them better. I'm happy someone asked that question, because this is one problem area in quite a number of universities. It doesn't relate to placement. Autonomous colleges to a great extent have realized now that they have to include these things. It's happening in quite a number of colleges. They can include all these things into the curriculum itself. That is a big advantage plus point for students.
Thank you, sir, again. There is another question. There have been similar questions like, do companies use a framework to test communication skills for entry-level employees? And is this common for all companies? This is a question put forth by KG Hiren and also Sai Archana Murthy.
Yes, so yes. There's nothing common. There's nothing common. They use all these to test only communication. Even when I spoke about questions in grammar, the questions are not aimed at testing your understanding of grammar. These questions are framed and they are used in placement tests to test your communication. Like I said, it's not active-passive voice per se. Whether a student knows what needs to be known when it comes to using certain passive structures in business English. If somebody says, if a business email says 10 people have been deployed to the Mysore campus, the student, of course, he will understand the meaning. He understands the structure, whether it is active or passive. Questions are asked purely from communication skills point of view. I'm happy they asked this question. It's not definitely not from grammar point of view. It's not from any other normal traditional point of view. Pure communication. They're testing the entry-level students' communication skills through all these strategies.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Probably the last question for the day is by Ramani, sir. How are attitudes assessed besides knowledge and skills? Like, so how do they assess the attitudes?
I should be very careful when I answer the question from Professor Ramani. Attitudes are very difficult. And in a placement scenario, attitudes are assessed. How do they assess? Can they spend half an hour with each student? Not possible. Can they ask questions about your attitude? They don't prefer doing that. How do they assess attitude? Participant attitude can easily be assessed in a simple recruitment tool like group discussion. For example, how he interacts with others, what kind of respect that he shows to the other 6 or 7 participants in the group. Does he try to dominate others? Does he try to put down somebody? Does one try to, like I said already, does one try to score brownie points? All these are attitudinal markers. They can very easily assess. The HR people, they will look very simple and very ordinary, but let me tell you, from what I've seen, they are real experts. So one's attitude can very easily be assessed in a tool like that. That's why they use tools like a group discussion and interviews also. In interviews also, they can easily find out one is pessimistic or defeatistic, one is confident, one is capable of handling situations, one is capable of facing challenges. The interview questions at times are aimed at destabilizing the participant. The questions and the answers are not important. The questions are primarily meant for destabilizing the student and see what kind of reaction emerges from that person. So they have quite a lot of things to assess one's attitude, and students have to be careful about. That's why I use the word professional. Be it placement-related group discussions or interview, be professional. Being professional means being very mature, respecting others, acting according to the situation, contributing your might and allowing others also to contribute, never try to dominate or override things. These are the things that are easily assessed. They do assess, yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, let me just summarize and propose the official vote of thanks. Language. Yes, it's a skill to be acquired for professional growth, period. We know the mandate. And that is why we all are together into this, so that language does not become a constraint and hinder our professional growth. ELTAI could not have structured this session more reciprocal for the audience, because it has been specifically designed to cater to the pragmatic requirements of the students. The questions put forth by Shrinidhi and Sharmila no doubt resonate the voice and needs of the contemporary times. And Dr. Sasisekaran truly set the tone for resolving the essential difficulties in language building. The why, what, and how of placement perspectives as far as language proficiency is concerned is well dealt with. I extend my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Sasisekaran Thyagarajan, the student speakers, Ms. L. Shrinidhi and Ms. S. Sharmila, for their brilliancy with which they took up the topic, making it very pertinent and very interactive. I thank Dr. S. Sankarakumar for moderating the session. A special thanks for ELTAI for reaching out to the youth and teaching fraternity, extending its help selflessly to define and illustrate what ELTAI actually stands for. We, the ELTAI fraternity, will keep doing the good work. At the end, I have a couple of announcements to make. All of us are more concerned about the certificates. So for the attendees, please pay attention that certificate of attendance will be issued only to students and ELTAI members who attend the entire webinar. Those who attend the entire webinar will receive an email with a link for submitting your details for certificates. Do not forget to submit your details through that link. It will only take minimum of 10 working days to send you the certificates. Kindly wait patiently. At the end, I'll make the announcement for our next scheduled webinar. This is the brochure on your screen. For your notice, next week we do not have a webinar lined up, but we will definitely meet again the week after that, that is on 31st of January 2021 from 4:30 p.m. onwards. The topic which we are going to take up in our next session is the literary landscape of comic and graphic novels. The guest speaker is PD Dr. Stephen Broschen, University of Cologne, Germany. Discussant would be Mr. Syed Salman Abbas from AMU Aligarh, and moderator would be Ms. Alisha Ibkar, again from AMU Aligarh. This is for your kind notice. We come to the end of this session. All of you stay safe and stay blessed. Have a good day ahead.